Welcome to Dependable Flame, where we explore vintage petrol lighters, ashtrays, tobacciana, and other useful mechanisms. Make yourself at home. Today we are not going to talk about cigarette lighters. We don't usually publish videos on Saturday, so I hope you guys will indulge me. There are three main subjects that I cover on my website, dependableflame.com. The first, obviously, vintage petrol lighters, ashtrays, tobacciana, and other useful mechanisms. These are the videos we publish Monday through Friday, most weekday mornings, but I thought that perhaps Saturday would be a good day to delve into at least one of those other subjects, and probably to the dismay of Dylan DePie, it's not going to be the one that he was hoping for. We also do on the website cover various topics and elements concerning the cannabis plant, but what I would like to talk to you about today is something that I've been aware of most of my life, but really became intimately aware of 12 years or so ago. I'm reading from the flyer here that I include when shipping out all of our eBay listings when they sell. The Penny Start charity auctions that we do 3 of each month. It's just a little informational flyer that your lighter will come wrapped in. Huntington's disease is a fatal genetic disorder that causes the progressive breakdown of nerve cells in the brain. HD, Huntington's disease, deteriorates a person's physical and mental abilities during their prime working years and currently has no cure. Many describe the symptoms of HD as having ALS, Parkinson's, and Alzheimer's disease simultaneously. Over time, HD affects the individual's ability to reason, walk, and speak. Symptoms usually appear between the ages of 30 to 50 and worsen over a 10 to 25 year period. Ultimately, the weakened individual succumbs to pneumonia, heart failure, or other complications. When they say it's like having ALS, Parkinson's, and Alzheimer's disease simultaneously, that sounds really serious, but I don't know if any of us can really grasp that. I don't know if I can really grasp that. I watched that disease in pretty quick order. Take my dad, who was the most capable man I had ever met, was a mechanic, smart, could reason his way through any situation. And he was suddenly getting himself in situations that not only didn't make sense, knowing how intelligent he was, but they wouldn't have made sense for anybody. There were many instances along the way, especially in the beginning. It manifested itself, I believe, first off in what we thought was hearing loss. In the end, I don't think it was hearing loss at all. I think he was having trouble comprehending what was going on. It was hearing that question a second time that was giving him time to process his response. It wasn't hearing it that he needed. He'd already heard it. He just hadn't picked it all up. But then over time, there were other symptoms and other maladies that maybe seem like they might be caused by something else, maybe something short term, a virus, just normal sickness kind of things. I can't remember anything in particular right at the moment, but there were a number of years there where we were really worried about little things. When it really hit home for me was he was a couple hours late to pick me up one day. We were going hunting on a Saturday morning after being at my son's high school football game the night before. He was supposed to have been there well before the sun came up so we could be in the woods by the time the sun was coming up. But instead, he was, it seems like 2.5, 3 hours late. And when we got in the car, driving away, and he was driving, he started explaining to me what had happened, that he was milling around the house there getting everything ready that morning, and he pretty much was ready, had been ready for that entire 2.5 or 3 hours that he was late. But when he sat down to tie his boots, right before he walked out the door, he couldn't remember how to do it. This was the man who taught me how to tie my shoes. So I knew there was a serious problem at that point, but even still, it was so far beyond me. And even though I was aware of Huntington's disease, I had heard of it. I was even aware of some of the symptoms because of the biographical information that I had read on Woody Guthrie. I knew that he had been in and out of insane asylums for years because he was misdiagnosed with his Huntington's disease. And as it turned out, it was not an overnight diagnosis like it probably should have been. And there's something about this disease that causes those afflicted by it, especially those families, to not talk about it, to hide it, to just pretend like it didn't happen or isn't going to happen. And there's a lot of diseases that you might be able to put your head in the sand and it may never happen. But Huntington's disease is a genetic disease. If you have a parent who is afflicted by it, that has the CAG repeat that causes the disorder, then you have a 50-50 chance of having that disease yourself. Doesn't matter how much you want to be optimistic. That's just a fact. That's a genetic. You can pray about it. God may do a miracle, but if he doesn't do a miracle, you have a 50-50 chance of having Huntington's disease if you have a parent who is afflicted by it. So it's very odd in many families. In my family, we wanted to get the word out as soon as possible, but we also did not have generations of shame associated with this disease. The disease affects people in such a way, there's no way. I mean, I've just told you a very personal thing about my father, who is one of the most important people in my entire life. To see him afflicted by that was extremely difficult. And I share that to illustrate what this disease does. But like I said, there's many other things that I'm not going to share because it takes the dignity from every individual that it touches. I understand why families who have lived under this for so many generations would not want that out there. I just wanted to give you guys kind of a background, a little bit of the personal side of some of my motivations for what I do. I have great affinity for working on old petrol lighters and all the things that we do in that regard. But some of the underpinnings and the structure that surround it are there so that we can spread the word about Huntington's disease, hopefully get more funding and research and everything that's needed to eradicate that disease. We do the 3 Penny Start charity auctions each month. 10% of every listing that we sell on eBay goes to HDSA. I would like to talk more about this, and maybe we'll talk more about this and some other subjects on some of these future Saturdays. Until next time.